You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Finally, some possible justice for the family of Erick Garner. It has been 5 years since New York Police Department officer Daniel Pantaleo choked Erick Garner to death. A medical examiner ruled his death a homicide. Yet, the Staten Island DA chose not to pursue charges. The Trump Department of Justice said they will also not pursue federal civil rights charges. But today, a New York administrative judge ruled that Pantaleo should be fired as a result of his actions in the death of Erick Garner. Mayor Bill de Blasio held a news conference earlier today, and this is what he had to say.
There's been a lot of pain in this city over the last 5 years, and there's been a lot of fear. The pain was because we watched an innocent man die, and the fear was because people worried that there would be no justice, that the inequities that have plagued us for generations would simply continue unchecked. But today, for the first time in these long 5 years, the system of justice is working. For the Garner family, and I've spent time with them and I've heard the pain that they have felt. It's been a very long 5 years with no sense of closure, no sense of justice. Until today, the Garner family has been failed by this entire process. And think about what they have gone through. They watched him die, just as we all did. They felt that pain. And then they were told over and over again by the district attorney, by the Department of Justice, that the government would do its job. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and nothing happened. And as all this stretched on, it reinforced the suspicion, as one felt by millions, that justice doesn't exist for people who look like Erick Garner. Today, we finally saw a step towards justice and accountability. We saw a process that was actually fair and impartial. And I hope that this will now bring the Garner family a sense of closure and the beginning of some peace. But full justice means that there can never be another tragedy like the one that befell Erick Garner.
Joining us right now is Emerald Garner, the daughter of Erick Garner. Emerald, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Emerald, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now I got you there. First and foremost, this was a decision the family has been waiting for and hoping for. Just your thoughts about, after 5 years, finally somebody holding Daniel Pantaleo accountable for the death of your father, Erick Garner.
Yes, I've been fired up all day. We heard the decision. There's now finally someone who is agreeing that there was some injustice done to Erick Garner. And that's what we've been crying for the past 5 years.
Obviously, this came up in the presidential debate the other night. But you also had, frankly, highs and lows. Many people felt the Department of Justice was going to certainly pursue civil rights charges. No charges were filed while Obama was president. The Trump administration comes in. And then you had a disagreement there. The Civil Rights Division, they wanted to file charges, but they were overruled by the Southern District of New York, as well as Attorney General William Barr. But to finally have a judge say, yes, his actions were wrong in the case of Erick Garner, that has to be some kind of comfort because he's frankly gotten off scot-free up until now.
Absolutely. So for 5 years, we've been told that we didn't see what we saw. For 5 years, we've been told that that was not a chokehold, that the cop did nothing wrong. And today, we finally heard, yes, he did something wrong. And still, to have a PBA president say that he feels like if Commissioner O'Neill fires this cop, he'll lose New York City. New York City is already lost. New York City was lost when Eric Garner died from a chokehold.
Well, first and foremost, to hear the union chief say that, I mean, at the end of the day, we know exactly what we saw. We know it was a chokehold. The medical examiner ruled it was a homicide. And so these cops continue to lie and lie and lie. And it should send a signal to the rest of these cops. If you do wrong, look, you lose your job. First of all, he should have been indicted. He should have been on trial. But there's no way in the world he should still have his job.
I agree. This should have been done 5 years ago. And he may think that he's getting off scot-free, but we will find a way to maybe open up another investigation towards him. But this is not the end.
There's a rally taking place right now. Tamika Mallory, my son, and others, they are rallying because they want to make sure this gets done. Again, the administrative judge is recommending he be fired. That decision still actually must be followed through.
It must be finalized by the commissioner who answers to the mayor.
Well, Emerald Garner, first of all, we know it has been extremely difficult for the Garner family, losing Erick Garner to a heart attack after she passed away, losing his stepfather, and just, you know, at the funeral just the other day. But your family has been resilient. You'll have not given up. Please give my best to Gwen Carr. Let her know that we're praying for her and that we certainly stand with you and the Garner family.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting my voice be heard.
All right. Thank you so very much, folks. That was Emerald Garner, the daughter of Erick Garner, speaking about a New York administrative judge saying Daniel Pantaleo should be fired for the death of Erick Garner. I want to go to my panel right now. Certainly they have something to say about this here. Joining us right now in studio, we have Mustafa. He is there, of course. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice in the EPA. Misha Cross, she's political commentator for Sinclair Broadcasting Group. Joseph Pignon, Republican strategist and political commentator. Misha, I'll start with you. Again, 5 years, no indictment from Staten Island. We never expected that because, frankly, a Staten Island DA sounded more like a defense attorney in this case. So many cops also live on Staten Island. Then the Trump Department of Justice filed no charges. But finally, some sense of relief for this family to hear somebody say, yes, Daniel Pantaleo was wrong, had wrongful actions that led to the death of Erick Garner.
You're exactly right. Look, we came to the end of the road with this. There were so many false starts when it came to justice being granted for the Garner family. And this is something that the world watched. And kudos to the advocates, to the activists, to the family who continually pressed on. But what this tells us in the grander scheme is that in many cases, even when something is seen visually, when you get to feel the emotion of watching a police officer kill someone, literally, who's begging for their life, it's not going to matter. To know that that man was still able to go to his job every day, to not be fired, is a problem. It is outrageous. I'm thankful that his daughter was able to speak to us a few moments ago. But there's a certain sense of upset that comes along with this because it shows us just how broken this system is. And to have the Fraternal Order of Police there make the statement that they did just shows how, one, they don't care. Two, there's no end to their protection of police, even the extremely crooked and dangerous ones.
Mustafa, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, justice delayed is justice denied. You know, sometimes they don't tell the fullness of the whole story. Erick Garner was actually breaking up a fight that was going on out on the block. And then he got rushed by the police. So, you know, a lot of times people talk about, you know, him selling a cigarette or something like that, which, of course, is no justification for what's going on. But we have a systemic problem that is currently going on with far too many of our law enforcement officials. You know, 1% of police officers who kill citizens actually end up getting convicted. 90% of regular citizens who happen to be involved with the death of a police officer get convicted. So there's something wrong with the system when those numbers are so skewed. And we have 447 people who have died this year so far at the hands of police. So, and when you have these police unions who stand up and protect cops that have done wrong, sometimes dirty cops, then we've got to change that. And that's why I'm glad that there are some of the presidential candidates who are starting to talk more about criminal justice reform and some of the things that need to happen in that space.
Joseph, this reminds me of the Rodney King. We saw the videotape. People said there is no way in the world these cops are going to get off. They did. They were convicted in the federal court for violating his civil rights. To see the chokehold applied, to hear police officers say, oh, no, there was no chokehold. That's not what that was. The medical examiner ruled it a homicide. This goes to show you how this society, how this system, the legal system, the city system protects cops. And so, thankfully, this administrative judge made this decision, but this was no guarantee that Pantaleo was going to keep his job. Or actually was going to get fired.
I think the hard truth that we're dealing with right now, for me at least personally, is trying to say that how did we get here? Right? I mean, I think the only thing more infuriating than watching Erick Garner have the life basically, choked out of him is listening to the mayor of New York City say that this is justice. I don't know what part of justice is a man who has killed somebody allowing to collect 5 years of salary and then possibly maybe losing his job. I don't know what part of justice is us sitting here standing around saying that the Garner family should have no answers. That somehow that an individual who is entrusted to protect us engaged in an activity that by the very department handbook has been deemed dangerous, has been deemed unlawful, and it results in someone's death and there is no consequences. So I think we have to understand that we can be in solidarity with our law enforcement. We can understand they have a very difficult job. And we can also be able to understand that in every profession in the world, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, an anesthesiologist, or even a bus driver, that if you do something that is negligent, that is known to be dangerous, and it results in somebody losing their life, you are almost guaranteed to lose your job. And in this case, it's not happening. At least we don't know what's going to happen. So I think that's something that we as a society should step back and really examine, because ultimately, again, this, in my opinion, is not justice. It's not even just delayed. It's just an unmitigated disaster.
We also want to thank all the activists out there who kept the pressure up, who kept protesting, who kept demanding justice. The Garner family as well. They never let up. They never relented. They kept that pressure up. But again, the decision has not been made to fire him. The recommendation is to fire him. We'll now see what the New York Police Department Commissioner will decide in the case of Daniel Pantaleo.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. A recent report by New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market at more than $340 billion. We know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the United States and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all of the plants. Folks, it's real simple. Now, our good friends at 420 Real Estate, their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. Now, 420 Real Estate has decided to do something special for the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Originally, the minimum investment level was $500, but right now you can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200. That's right, as little as $200 up to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion worldwide industry that is still growing, and you can participate with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.